Long before crowded cities and glowing screens, there was a quiet valley where a young woodworker named Kale struggled to survive. Every day looked exactly the same. He worked until his hands ached, yet he barely earned enough to buy bread for himself and his aging mother. He believed that success belonged only to kings, wealthy merchants, and people born into fortunate families. One cold autumn evening, an elderly traveler stopped outside Kale's tiny cabin. His clothes were dusty from months of walking, but his face carried a peaceful smile that seemed untouched by hardship. Kale welcomed the stranger inside, offered him warm soup, and shared the last piece of bread he had. The old man smiled. "You may think you are poor," he said softly, "but generosity is the first sign of true wealth." Before sunrise the next morning, the traveler prepared to leave. As he picked up his walking staff, he looked at Kale and said, "I cannot leave you gold, but I can leave you something far more valuable." Kale listened carefully. "The future you dream about begins with the first hour of every morning." The traveler taught him 5 simple promises. Promise 1. Wake before the sun. When the world is still asleep, the traveler explained, your mind belongs only to you. No noise. No distractions. Every sunrise gives you an extra chance to build the life you want. The next morning, waking before dawn felt almost impossible. Every part of Kale wanted to stay beneath his blanket. But he stood anyway. Outside, the sky was painted with deep blue shadows. The cool air filled his lungs, and for the first time in years, he felt completely awake. He realized the morning held a kind of peace he had never noticed before. Promise 2. Spend a few quiet minutes in gratitude. The traveler had told him, never begin your day by thinking about what you lack. Begin by remembering what you already have. At first, Kale struggled. Then he whispered, I'm thankful for my hands. I'm thankful for another sunrise. I'm thankful my mother is still beside me. Something changed. His problems had not disappeared. But they no longer felt impossible. Gratitude gave him strength instead of fear. Promise 3. Walk slowly through nature. Every morning Kale wandered along the forest path beside a small river. He listened to birds greeting the sunrise. He watched sunlight shine through the trees. He noticed flowers growing between rough stones. The more he walked, the calmer his thoughts became. Instead of worrying about everything that could go wrong, he began thinking about what could go right. New ideas appeared. New hope followed. Promise 4. Care for something that cannot repay you. One afternoon Kale rescued an injured bird trapped beneath broken branches. He built a tiny shelter beside his workshop. Every morning he fed the bird before beginning work. Weeks later it healed and flew away. Instead of sadness, Kale felt pride. Helping another living creature had quietly transformed his own heart. Soon he planted vegetables behind his cabin. Watching tiny seeds become strong plants reminded him that every great achievement begins almost invisibly. Growth always starts small. Promise 5. Save something every single day. The traveler had said, it doesn't matter whether you save 1 coin or 10. What matters is proving to yourself that tomorrow deserves preparation. Each evening Kale placed 1 small coin into a wooden box. Some days it seemed meaningless. Other days he wanted to spend it immediately. Still, he kept his promise. Weeks became months. Months became years. The box slowly became heavier. More importantly, Kale became wiser. Because he wasn't spending every coin, he started thinking differently. He stopped asking, what can I buy today? Instead he asked, what can I build tomorrow? One spring afternoon, his savings allowed him to purchase better woodworking tools. With stronger tools came better furniture. Better furniture brought more customers. Soon merchants traveled from nearby towns to buy his handcrafted tables and chairs. People believed Cale had become lucky. They never saw the thousands of quiet mornings that created his success. His workshop expanded. He hired apprentices from poor families and treated them with kindness. Instead of teaching them only woodworking, he shared the 5 dawn promises. Years later, one apprentice opened his own workshop. Then another. The habit spread further than Cale ever imagined. When a terrible winter struck the valley, many businesses failed. Food became expensive. Work disappeared. But Cale's careful savings helped his family survive without panic. He even shared supplies with struggling neighbors. People asked, "How were you prepared when everyone else was surprised?" Cale smiled. "I prepared a little every day." Time passed. His mother grew old. His workshop became the largest in the valley. Yet every morning, before anyone else awoke, Cale still followed the same 5 promises. Wake early. Practice gratitude. Walk through nature. Care for life. Save for tomorrow. Nothing glamorous. Nothing magical. Just simple actions repeated with consistency. One summer morning, many years later, Cale noticed a familiar traveler standing beside the forest road. It was the old man. His beard had turned completely white, but his smile remained exactly the same. The traveler looked around the thriving village. Children laughed. Workshops buzzed with activity. Gardens filled every home. Neighbors greeted one another with warmth. "You've done well," the traveler said. Cale shook his head. "No. I simply kept the promises." The old man smiled. "That is exactly how extraordinary lives are built." Before leaving once more, he offered one final lesson. People search for dramatic transformations. But life rarely changes in one giant moment. It changes through ordinary mornings repeated hundreds of times. After the traveler disappeared beyond the hills, Cale never saw him again. Years later, when Cale himself had become an old man, his grandchildren gathered around him. "Grandfather," one asked, "what is the greatest treasure you own?" Cale pointed toward the sunrise. "It isn't my workshop. It isn't my savings. It isn't my reputation." He paused with a gentle smile. "My greatest treasure is that every sunrise gave me another chance to become a better version of myself, and I chose to accept that gift." The children never forgot those words. Generation after generation, the 5 dawn promises continued to guide their family. Empires changed. Roads changed. People changed. But every morning, before the first light touched the earth, someone in that family still woke early, whispered words of gratitude, walked beneath the open sky, cared for living things, and prepared wisely for tomorrow. Perhaps that is the real secret of success. Not talent. Not luck. Not perfect circumstances. Just small promises, faithfully kept, one sunrise at a time. Tomorrow morning, when the alarm rings and the world invites you to stay asleep, remember this story. Your future may not be decided by one extraordinary day. It may simply be shaped by what you choose to do before the sun rises.